All sports, all plays. Yeah. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. 365, we making up plays. You talking the game, get you through the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety, topics, living the same. All presentation, sports information. In the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, like working your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. All sports, all plays.
All right, what's happening, everybody? Welcome to the ASAP Afternoon Blitz, Tuesday, July 11th, 2023. I'm Chris Gonzo Gonzalez, joined by my brother Mike Hughes. How's it going, Mike?
Gonzo, you got that nickname stuck, huh? Now it's just your full name. I heard that. I'm doing okay. I'm a little sick. So, when it rains, it pours. God said I get a sinus infection and pink eye all in the same week. So I'm just, rocking out, hanging in there, watching some home run derby action, and probably not going to watch the All-Star game because whatever. But, yeah.
Yeah. I won't. If I watch the All-Star game, I probably won't watch all of it. I might tune in and see a little bit of it, but I don't know. It's just never been a game that I've gotten into to like watch every year. Most of the players don't play very long, and like this year, I thought there was quite a few players this year that should have been on the All-Star game that wasn't. So that kind of disappointed me too, because it's just a popularity contest more than the guys actually deserve to be there and like earned it with their play on the field.
No, most definitely. Like I thought, there's a couple guys that I look at, and from the NL Central alone, I think one is Ellie De La Cruz. I think he's making a big point right now, even though he's only played 25 games. I think how can you not have one of the best players in baseball there? And I get it. I understand. Like if he would have played even, I think, 20 more games than he did.
If he'd been there maybe like another month.
Right.
He played like basically 1 month. If he played maybe 2 months of the first season or even maybe a month and a half, I think he probably would have got on there.
Yeah, most definitely. He at least has a reserve. But, yeah, I think there's a lot of guys that you could look at and take into consideration right now that are going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait to see Justin Steele perform. I know Dansby Swanson and obviously Marcus Stroman won't be there. Swanson has a contusion in his heel, and Stroman just said he didn't want to fucking play. So, okay, that's fine. He said he didn't even want to make the trip out there. He's at home. He's hanging out, which I think sometimes is better for you. Justin Steele, first timer. I don't know Gonzo, do you know who's starting pitchers in the in that? I don't know if they announced who was going to be taking the mound, but I felt like Justin Steele should out of everybody in the National League.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'll have to look it up here in a second. I haven't seen. I'll be honest. I didn't see hardly nothing yesterday. I was actually going to ask you about the home run derby because I was at a big pro wrestling show with. I don't know if you're a pro wrestling fan, but a lot of the old WWE legends was there, like Al Snow. WWE Tag Team Demolition, Warlord and Barbarian, had a bunch of old Jimmy the Mouth and South Hart. So it was actually real cool. We'll actually be airing that tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern on YouTube. So go check it out at Gonzo Sports Room and at the ASAP Sports Network. But it was awesome. So I didn't get to see much of the home run derby, but I heard this from what I'm hearing. A lot of people are saying this is one of the better home run derbies that we've had in a while.
Yeah, I didn't think it was better than last year. And that also might have been because I put down a parlay last year for Julio to win it all, and he was plus 900. So I was living lavish last year. But it was just kind of – it was very 50-50. I felt like half of them were kind of just like mid, and the rest of them were really, really dope. Julio obviously went crazy in the first round against Pete Alonso and had 41 home runs, which to Pete Alonso's like 20, which was insane. Pete knew that he wasn't winning. Mookie Betts had like 11 or 12. He was just there to have a good time. He had the sickest bat there, though. I will say that. Or Julio had a dope one too. No Place Like Home was on his bat, so it was pretty cool. I was looking for like a Motley Crue type of just branding of like Home Sweet Home, but he went a different route with it. But yeah, it was cool. It was cool nonetheless. I took Luis Robert because a bunch of White Sox fans in Chicago told me to, and I knew better. My first pick was Vladdy. But I went against my gut. I thought, you know what, maybe Vladdy's going to get tired towards the end. And it was weird, Gonzo, because he goes to he's in the conference championship, obviously. He's in the semifinals. And to go to the finals, he needs to beat, I forget who he was playing against. I think it was Julio. It was somebody. So he went last. And then in the next round, which was the championship round, he actually had to go first. So he had to go back to back. And he only had like 5 minutes to cool off. And so that was crazy. And for him to knock 25 out to Randy's 23, I think it was a cool ending. Randy was a lot of fun to watch. He had his cowboy boots. He had a lot of swag to him. And I was definitely rocking with that. But this is the first time that a father-son combo have both won the home run derby, that being Vlad Sr. and Vlad Jr. So that's pretty cool. I think that was 2007.
Yeah, I think it was. The starting pitchers tonight is Zach Gallen and Garrett Cole.
That is dog shit. What are we talking about? Zach Gallen? Are you kidding me? Over Justin Steele? That's crazy. You know what? My bias is coming out. That is trash.
Well, hey, I feel you because, like you said about Dela Cruz, you thought he should be there. Well, I thought he should be there, but also understood why not because he hadn't played. But a guy like Matt McClain off the Reds, is killing it, or Spencer Steer, I think both them should have had a chance to maybe be a reserve.
No, literally.
I mean, Steer's in the top 10 in baseball and RBIs and stolen bases. I mean, all kinds of things. It's like you're not even a reserve on the All-Star team.
Literally.
And McClain, he's getting overshadowed some. Well, Steer too. Both of them are getting overshadowed because they play on the same team as Dela Cruz now.
Most definitely. And then I'm looking at the stats right now. So ERA isn't everything, earned run averages and everything, but it's a big part of what makes these guys so elite. Zach Gallen has a 3.04 ERA, which is really respectable. But Justin Steele has a 2.56 ERA with the lowest ERA in the National League and the second lowest ERA in all of baseball. So the fact that this guy isn't starting is ridiculous to me. The Loosedale legend, the man of steel himself, Justin Steele, deserves some love. I mean, yeah, it's his first time making the All-Star game, so I guess I can understand like them snubbing him of the starting job, but it's also, I think it's Zach Gallen's first time too, if I'm not mistaken, but I don't know.
I think it is. I think it is his first time.
Yeah, but obviously he's on the D-backs, so.
Well, no, I was gonna say when was the last time Steele pitched? Maybe it was because it was that, but
it was. Let me see. Well, no, because nonetheless, he's going to be playing tonight.
Yeah, that's why I said, well, that don't matter because they're going to be he's going to pitch sometime. So
yeah, no, last time he pitched was July 5th, so he's good.
Reds we have one All-Star, our closer, who's right now the best. I think he's the best closer in baseball.
I would agree.
Alexis Diaz.
Yeah,
I would have said maybe second, but then his brother got hurt and is not playing this year.
Not for real. But yeah, I think Ellie made a great point or a great case for that, especially towards the end of the season, bro. Like stealing or the end of the break, stealing second, third, and home. Like, I mean, I think you just throw him in there just to throw him in there. You know what I mean? Like, I would have really liked to see him in the home run derby. I think that would have been a lot of fun. But I like that he didn't do it because he felt like, well, if I'm not in the All-Star game, I don't want to do it. Like, and I felt like that was like a big part of what made Julio so special, though, last year. So Julio had an amazing second half after he won the home run derby, and it really just brought his name more out there for the Rookie of the Year candidate spot. Felt like it really would have helped Ellie De La Cruz's case because he started so late. If he were to win the home run derby and then obviously have an amazing second half, I think there's that case.
Yeah. Part of me wanted to see him do it, but then part of me was also kind of glad he didn't do it because sometimes you see these guys getting this home run derby and then sometimes they struggle in the second half of the season.
I never understood that.
Getting their swing back.
All right. I never understood how one day can fuck up the rest of your season.
Yeah. Oh, I know. Neither have I, but we've seen it happen. So I was like, well, in a way, I don't want him to, but it would have been cool to see him because, dude, he can hit some bombs.
No, for sure. And he's
entertaining.
Like they have the extra 30 seconds if you hit over 440 multiple times. And I'm like, oh, Ellie De La Cruz does that at ease. He's going to have an extra 5 minutes by the time he's done because he hits so many over 440. Like, I think it would have been really interesting. But I do want to ask you, like, the Rookie of the Year conversation. Obviously, especially in the National League, there's a lot of guys that Ellie would have to go against, and a couple of them are even on the Reds. Like, they have a lot of great young talent right now. You also look at the Diamondbacks and what they're doing with Carroll and company, and like, where are you at right now for rookies of the year? We could, if you don't want to do the American League, that's fine. But if you're looking at the National League as a whole, where Ellie De La Cruz sits right now after 25 games played out of 60, like, do you think if he plays the remaining of the year, let's be real, like, he would play over 140 games? Does he have that case for Rookie of the Year? Do you think because he missed multiple months that he might not be able to get that?
I think if he keeps playing at the level he's playing at, first little over a month that he's played in Major League, if he keeps playing at that level the second half of the season, I think he'll have a good shot at getting it. I think it'd be hard not to give it to him if he keeps putting up these numbers. I mean, he's hitting like 325 right now.
Right.
I know he's only been playing a month, but just with all the stuff he's doing, and the Reds have only lost, I think, 5 games since they brought him up. I mean, they've only lost 5 games since they brought him up. They've been,
not to throw it at you, Gonzo, but wasn't it all in a row too? Like, it wasn't. It was one bad week, I feel like the Reds had, and the rest has just been very great baseball.
Yeah.
But
because they won 12 in a row, then they lost 3 in a row,
right?
And they won 3 in a row, then they lost 1, won 5 in a row, then they just lost their first series in a while. Well, first series since they lost to the Braves, but to the Brewers, they won 1 game out too, so they split their. So they've been doing good about not losing like multiple games in a row. And that's why I told my dad earlier in the season, I said, if they can just avoid losing the 8-9 games in a row, if you're going to lose games. Everybody made it. Well, I don't say everybody. There's a few people when they went on that 12-game winning streak and they lost. They lost to 3-0, 3 in a row. All that shows that the Reds were a fluke. How's that show they're a fluke? Did you expect them to win fucking 80 the rest of the 120 games left in the season in a row?
Right.
I mean, you're going to lose some games. Now, if they'd have went on like a 10 or 11 game losing streak, okay, I would have been fine with calling them a fluke. But they lost 3 in a row, then they won 5, then they come back and won 5 in a row. So it's like,
no, most definitely.
I'm not going to call them a fluke, but I'm not going to sit here and say that they're going to win the World Series this year either. We've seen teams be in first place at the All-Star break and then fall back the second half of the season, and we see teams that could be the last in the division at the All-Star break and come back and win a World Series. I mean, Nationals done it 3-4 years ago. So I mean, a lot can happen in the second half of the season, but I think De La Cruz could have a good shot at getting it. But I agree with you. McLean, Steer, or both on the Reds could be up there. Our pitcher Andrew Abbott, he had his first bad start his last game, but before that, he'd already had like 6 wins in his first 7 starts, and an ERA of like just over 2.
Right.
So I mean, if he can keep it up over the season, but there's a lot of good rookies around this year, especially in the National League.
Yeah, I could have put.
Let me ask you one question real quick, Mike, before we move on, because it was about De La Cruz. Did you see him still home the other day?
Well, I saw him do a lot of things the other day. I saw him steal second, third at home the other day.
2 pitches. That's the first time I've been watching baseball for over 30 years, and that's the first time I've ever seen that.
Yeah, I mean, and I made a joke about this. I'm so serious. Like, the only time I've ever seen that happen was I used to do it. I used to do it in high school. Like, that's the kind of guy I was. That's the kind of guy a bunch of guys I grew up knowing were. Like, I haven't seen something like that in a mate. Like, and that's not a flex. You know what I mean? Like, if that happens in high school, it's because it happens in high school. You're playing against kids. Like, that's what it is. Yeah, but I've never seen it at the major league level in my life. I've never seen it in a minor league level. I've never really seen it in a college level. Like, this kid's out here playing MLB The Show, just messing around. Like, this kid is playing a video game. He doesn't seem like he's having any issues. He doesn't seem like he's having any hard time figuring any of this out. And I'm happy for him, man. I mean, this kid's rookie card, if you go on eBay or you go on the internet right now, his rookie card's worth over $3,000 after the first 25 games. And it was worth over $500 before he even did an at-bat. So, I mean, the kid's an absolute stud. I'm excited for you, man. I really am, because I think you got something that's more than just the franchise player of the Reds. I think this is a guy that, and we say this a lot, I feel like every couple of years we have this conversation about, like, before it was Tatis, last year it was Julio. about who's going to be the next face of the league. But I mean, Ellie really just he's hit a new stride of what you could potentially be in a 6 tool player. Like that's the definition of a 6 tool player is Ellie De La Cruz.
Yeah, he looks like a guy if he stays healthy. I mean, could be the next face of the league, but you got to stay healthy. And I mean, right now he's hot. Things could happen. But get this, dude. There's actually Reds fans. I'm in a lot of Reds fan groups and stuff, and he got off to a real hot start. And he had like two games in a row where he didn't get a hit. And there was Reds fans that wanted to send him back to the minors, saying that he'll be back in the minors by the end of the season. They brought him up too soon. I'm like, everybody has a little bit of a slump, and he's a rookie. And now he's hitting better than he was at the beginning of the season. He's up over 325 now. It's like people go recency bias. They get just because. Well, they did it even with Joey Votto. Joey Votto came out and got off to a good start. Well, then he went 0 for 19. And they're like, oh, we got to get Votto off this team. He's terrible. Now he's like 7 for 16 with 5 home runs in his last 16 at bats. So it's like baseball's a game of failure. I mean, if you hit 250, you're doing great. That's hitting the ball 25% of the fucking time.
Most definitely.
I mean, people don't. I don't know if it's just casual fans or who it is. I don't think they realize how hard the game of baseball is. And I mean, baseball. And I've always told kids when I coached baseball, I mean, it's a game of failure. If you're doing something 25% of the time, you're considered good at 25, 30% of the time. That's about one of the only sports there is where you can do something not even a sport. One of the only things in life where you can be good at 25% of the time and you're considered good.
Yeah, most definitely, man. And I do think like at the end of the day, like you got to be good at what you understand is your wheelhouse. Like for me, you know, when you're in middle school and you're playing on the sand lot or you're playing wherever you are, high school, even like you can do it all. Like I knew guys, my buddy Scott, my buddy JoJo, all my boys like that. You know, they play shortstop, they play center, they play pitcher because the talent that you're going up against really can't do anything about it. If you have a good arm, you have a good arm. But once you get to college, once you get to the minors, once you get to JUCO, once you get to wherever you're going to be, independent ball, you need to figure out. And Andre Drummond and a bunch of guys in the NBA talk about the same thing, like especially in college. They don't care if you can score. They don't care if you can hit hard. They don't care. And to bring it back to baseball, like you need to find what you're good at and how you can help a team win. Because at the end of the day, that's all that matters. And I feel like a lot of guys, whether it's the Billy Hamiltons of the world, or what have you, you know, for me, it was good defense and running bases. That's what I did. And I could steal the bag whenever you needed it. I could play defense in center or left or right, wherever you needed it. I'm left-handed, so you couldn't really do much else with me. But you look at that, and then you look at what Ellie De La Cruz is doing, and he can do everything everybody else can do, but better. And I think that's really interesting. I do really quickly want to plug in something because I saw an amazing comment by the great Rob Scott. He's in the comments right now saying 2 of the best in the business. But I would like to point out that August 1st on the All Sports, All Plays Network, Rob Scott of Rob's 2 Cents will be back. He'll be talking some NBA, some NFL, everything else you need to know. He's a diehard Chicago White Sox fan. He's getting into the game. I'm really excited to see Rob Scott do his thing.
You said White Sox fan?
Yeah, Rob Scott's a White Sox fan. He does his thing. You know what? And it's still my brother. It's still my brother. So I did want to plug that in really quickly just for a reminder. If you haven't already, go on YouTube, go on Facebook, go on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, everywhere. Check out Rob's 2 Cents on Facebook, Instagram, etc. And if you can't find that anywhere else, you can check it out on the All Sports, All Plays Network this August. Coming back. Really excited about it. It's a show that I used to watch religiously. And I've gotten to work with Rob a lot within the last 2 years. So, man, it's just a blast every time he's on the mic. He's going to bless everybody coming back on the ASAP network because he's going to make me and Gonzo's life a hell of a lot easier adding another face and another show. So definitely check that out. But Gonzo, what else we got going on, man? Anything else in baseball you wanted to talk about?
Yeah, I was real quick on Rob. I'm glad he's bringing that show back because I'm like you. I used to watch Rob's 2 Cents a lot, so it's glad to see that show coming back. It's a real good show. But on baseball, when you were talking about it's about what you're good at. Like when I played it, I wasn't a pitcher. I was known for my speed, and I could play about any position but pitcher or catcher. You could put me – I was like a utility guy. You could put me about anywhere defensively, and I wasn't going to hurt the team. But you won't want me at pitcher because I'm going to hit – excuse me, I was going to hit every batter.
Yep. That's what that is.
A catcher, I can play the catcher, but I was just so damn small. They don't, you know how it is. They don't want real small guys at the catcher position.
Right.
But so I get what you're saying there, and that's the thing about Dele Cruz, and that's not just Dele Cruz. I'm seeing it with a lot of the Reds, like Steer. He was normally a third baseman coming up or a shortstop. Oh, they're playing him in left field, first base. I mean, so the Reds have quite a few guys. They can move around to different positions, and the guys are capable of playing that. And that's how you get on big league teams, is being able to do more than just one thing good. So I'm excited about it. Let's talk about the Cubs real quick. You think the Cubs they're toward the end of the first half of the season? We're playing pretty good baseball. Do you think they could make a run in the second half?
Yeah, I mean, we split with the Brewers, and I think that was key. Taking a couple games off of them in a 4-game series. So I believe it was a 4-game series. And then, you beat the Yankees in a 3-game series 2-1. So I think it was a lot of fun. It was very exciting, but I can't really even have this conversation with you, Gonzo. I can't. I gotta wait. You got to talk to me after the deadline, because I really don't even know what this team's going to look like. You know what I mean? And I mean that in a serious way too, because it doesn't have to be Marcus Stroman. It doesn't have to be Cody Bellinger. Like, if they tear apart this bullpen, which that's personally how I think they're going to go about it. I think obviously they're going to try to get what they can for some bullpen arms, which we don't have many. So that's one of my fears. But I think that's definitely the direction you could see them going, and trying to just peel off a couple guys like Mike Tauchman, who's 30 years old, had a stint with the Yankees and been in the minors ever since. And, right now he's batting over 250. He's doing his thing. I said they should have traded him when he was batting 350, but for that week that he was, they called it the summer of Mike Tauchman. But yeah, I think the Cubs are in a tricky situation right now. And I think I couldn't tell you what's going to happen, because I need to see how the team looks after the trade deadline. Because right now, I think if I were to answer your question, I think the Cubs are in a position to sneak into that last wild card spot. And I think they would be good enough to be able to do it. You have one of the best 1-2-3 punches in baseball. And I could add a 3, because Kyle Hendricks, the professor, come on, Rob Scott, 2016 World Series champion Kyle Hendricks has come back through 8 no-hit innings against the Giants, 4 no-hit innings against the Brewers, as a 2.64 ERA, is 4-1 with the Cubs since he's come back. I mean, he's absolutely incredible, and he's been great. So it's his last season with the Cubs as of right now. He's going to be a free agent at the end of the year. You have him, Marcus Stroman, who's an all-star, and Justin Steele, who's an all-star and the best pitcher, one of the best pitchers in all of baseball. And I think that's something right now that between those 3, the bats that we have, and maybe a couple guys in the minors coming up at some point, like Matt Mervis coming back up, Jared Young continuing to produce, or who else they want to bring through the realm. I'm really excited about what this Cubs team could potentially be. But again, overnight, everybody could get traded, and then I don't know what to fucking look at. So I think there's definitely that inconsistency with the front office of not knowing what we're going to do. Like, the last 2 years, you've traded everybody at the deadline. Then you openly say that we're contending this year. We're hoping to contend for the National League, NL Central. So then you make these claims saying that you don't want to re-sign Marcus Stroman and you might trade him at the deadline. And I'm like, okay, well, you're kind of contradicting yourself. So I don't really know. But the Cubs are playing great baseball nonetheless. David Ross got ejected in the first inning and told an umpire if he was going to let him do his job, and then he was dog shit, and he's been dog shit all season. So that was cool. I was happy Rossi got that out of his chest.
These umpires have been terrible. Strike zones have been terrible. I'm seeing strikes getting called at people's ankles almost on some of these pitches. Especially Dele Cruz, man, the other night. This dude's 6'6", and you're calling a strike that's on his shins.
Right. The weird one with that instance, Rob, I know we're talking baseball, but give us a second, baby. The weird thing with that,
get your baseball on.
Yeah, I love you, Rob. I love you, Rob Scott. Luis Robert messed me out of money, though, so the White Sox are dead to me again. But I think the weird part was with that, I don't know if you got to see that David Ross ejection, but the Napoli and David Ross one the other day was hilarious. That was on the 4th of July. And it's kind of a Cubs tradition for a manager to get bounced in the 4th of July. It's just been something that's been going on.
I saw that game. I was watching. I turned it over here right after the Reds game because that was one of the last 3 innings of that game on the 4th of July of the Cubs.
Yeah.
And Brewers was fucking crazy.
It was a great game. And, Napoli, I understood Napoli's point of view because you were just trying to calm down Horner. And you didn't want him to get tossed, so then Napoli gets tossed. But then David Ross just throws himself in there just because. And I felt like I was kind of like, well, Napoli's gone too, so now what happens? But it was a weird instance with the Yankees because Kyle Hendricks actually had a couple more warm-up pitches to throw, but the umpire wanted to start the game, so he just said that he had a pitch clock violation. So it was weird because Kyle knew he had 2 extra pitches to throw before he had to start. And he was trying to take those extra pitches, and the umpire said, no, I want to, he wanted to go home early that day or whatever the case may be, start the game early. And David Ross was not having it. So I was happy about it. The first inning gets a little rough then. Obviously, Kyle gives up a hit and then a walk. So then David Ross was like, you know what, fuck it, I'm going out there. And then I was happy he did because it was kind of ridiculous.
And real quick before we move on from baseball, what do you think about the Reds? You think that they'll be buyers or you think they'll be sellers at the trade deadline? I think they're probably going to stay pretty much pat, unless they can find maybe some starting pitching. But I don't think they're going to spend a bunch of money on it. I think if they could get somebody as a rental or something, they might, just because they've had some injuries at pitching. But
right.
Like position player wise, I mean, you're hitting the ball almost 270 as a team. You got a good batting order. I don't see them doing anything positional player wise. I think if they do anything, it'll be with either maybe pitching or try to pick up a bullpen arm.
Yeah, I don't like it. I don't like it at all. I think I'm looking at this team and like what they're capable of doing, especially in like their minor league system right now. They have so many of their top prospects from Andrew. I believe you say Abbott. Is that how you say his name?
Abbott.
Abbott. Okay, that's what I contradicted myself and I shouldn't have. I second guessed. Ellie De La Cruz, a bunch of other guys. Marte, obviously one of those guys you're looking at in AAA right now.
Yep.
He's 21. You got a bunch of 19-year-olds, 18-year-olds as your top prospects. So if you were to go out there and try to go after and this is just an example, a Marcus Stroman type guy or somebody else like let's not say Shohei Ohtani, but just say starting pitchers that are available. I think as an organization, you need to think, okay, we're having a good first half, but do we want to wait for the reinforcements? Because I think that's what's really important right now is like, you don't want to jump the gun and trade away the farm just because a couple guys are having first half of the season success. Yes. And I think if I were the Reds, I'm like you said earlier, if they make it to the World Series, awesome. But let's not go out of our way to try to when we're still not fully there yet. Like Joey Votto is not going to be significant, in my opinion, if they were to make it to the World Series. The complete roster isn't significant enough to have those conversations. So I do think, whereas anybody can win on any given day, I'm not going to say the Reds can't, but as an organization, I love the way they've developed players. I'm excited about the future and the other guys that they have in this farm system that could be just as good or if not better than Ellie De La Cruz at some point. I wouldn't give that away just to try to win it all in 2023. But if they did, my hat's off to them because they're going balls to the walls. And that's something that I haven't seen the Reds do ever. So I think it would be, I think it would be cool, but I think I agree with you. I think they stay pat. If anything, I think there's a couple guys out there, like I mentioned Kyle Hendricks earlier. He's at the end of his career. He's not going to be super expensive. Like if you can get a low end,
you're not going to give up a lot of your prospects to get somebody.
A low end prospect for a guy on a 1-year deal. Like that's really what I think they would go after.
I agree.
More arms than anything. They have, like you said, they have the bats. They're one of the best hitting teams in baseball. So I also like their pitching right now, though. I think at the beginning of the year, you and Pops were laughing about it, saying they had no bullpen. And they've kind of not proved you wrong.
The bullpen's been good, especially over the last month and a half.
Yeah, they haven't tried to prove you wrong, but they're definitely showing you that they got some fight in them. Yep. It's just I think the consistency throughout the next couple months is going to be important.
Well, we're finally getting healthy too. We had the most players in Major League Baseball in the IL there at the beginning of the season, and now we're starting to get some of our relievers back. Now, if we can just get some of our starting pitchers that got hurt, like Hunter Green going down and Lodolo going down. I thought that was really going to hurt us, but so far, some of these guys have been able to step up. But one thing that helps us, we scored a lot of runs.
Right.
So, I mean, our pitching can might give up 5 runs, it can give up 4 or 5 runs a game, but we're scoring 7.5 runs a game.
Right. No, most definitely.
How's it going, Rob Scott?
It's going, man. How you feeling, my boy Gonzo?
Not too bad, man. I had a big wrestling show last night. Got to meet Al Snow, Warlord and Barbarian, Demolition. It was
What does
pretty cool.
everybody want? Head.
Hell, dude, you'll have to. I'm gonna be airing a video tonight at 7, but you'll have to watch it. That whole crowd was chanting that thing. He had that crowd. He was over so much. It was funny. He'd hold that mannequin head up, and the whole damn fairgrounds was yelling head. You had 6-year-old kids out there saying they wanted head. But
by the way, I love you too, Mike Hughes.
I love you.
Have you heard any new news about the Damian Lillard situation?
Nope. Oh
no, the only thing I heard, you guys probably touched on it already. His agent came out and said, "Hey, we kind of not really paying attention to any other deals. Dame wants to go to Miami, and that's the route we're going."
Yep. And then saw it on ESPN last night. You know when you got like the little blocks underneath, kind of just have like the tickers. It just kind of like reads your reports, but it doesn't talk about them. Said that Portland said, and this is paraphrasing, but pretty much they didn't give a shit how long it took. If it takes months, if it takes a year, they're fine with it. They're fine to wait it out. They don't care how long it takes, which I think is the wrong approach. I think you're trying to make it a lot more toxic, a lot faster. So if they want to play it that way, cool, because I know Dame at the end of the day is going to get paid his $45 million, so he don't give a fuck.
Yeah, and I've heard. I think if I'm heard the reports correctly, Boston did offer something for him, and they're like, nah, and I get where Portland's coming from. It's like if I'm gonna give up somebody like Dame, I want something for it. But I believe in what all the other analysts said. The days of equal compensation for players are over. I mean, if you're getting rid of these top level players who been loyal to your franchise for 4 to 5 years or over 5 years, and they're ready to go, I think at this point you just have to try to get as high of draft picks as you can to get some new blood in there.
Yeah, for sure. I agree with you too. I think people understand it's different. It's really different when somebody demands a trade versus you just trading somebody. You know what I mean? Like there's obvious reasons. Like if the team is looking to rebuild, that's a different conversation. But when Dame publicly says, I want to leave, like, okay, well, you just lost so much leverage. Like that was the beauty of the Kevin Durant thing because KD kind of kept that under wraps. Obviously, he mentioned it in the summer, but he played the entire season. There were no issues. And then he kind of just went to the Nets and was like, yo, trade me to Phoenix. And then they ended up getting a lot. They got Mikal Bridges, Cam Johnson, and a bunch of picks. So, and I believe Spencer Dinwiddie, if I'm not mistaken, or I think that was the Kyrie trade. I think it's the Kyrie trade. But you end up getting a bunch of these assets. And then you look at what other teams are going to get. And it's like when Dame goes out publicly and says, yo, I want to get the fuck out of here. It's like, yo, I'm part of my language, but that's really Dame screaming free Dame. So, I mean, it's something right now that, from my point, if Rob was like, yo, I got Dame, what do you want? I'm going to be like, well, here's what I'm going to give you. Because I know at the end of the day, Dame's leaving. You know what I mean? Dame don't want to be there. So I'm not meeting your needs. You're going to meet mine. Like, here's what I can offer you. And if I'm the Boston Celtics, I'm in a very weird spot because I'm a very big believer, and I was telling Pride this when him and Tony were doing a show. I'm a big believer in Jaylen Brown. I really am. And I'm a big believer in Jason Tatum as well. And I think a 25-year-old and a 27-year-old are better than a 33-year-old Damian Lillard. I truly do believe that. A team that's been in the Eastern Conference Finals multiple times, a team that's won first in the East multiple times. Obviously, Jason Tatum's in the MVP conversation. And then obviously you went to the finals and lost to one of the best dynasties of the 21st century. So not named the Lakers, but it's definitely something. If I'm Boston, I would rather rock out with JT and JB than have JT and Damian Lillard. That's just me.
I agree. Only way I would trade, if I'm Boston, the only way I'm trading for Lillard is if I can get it done without giving up Brown.
Right. I think and that was the conversation, Gonzo, me and you had, was if Marcus Smart, Grant Williams and company were still there, and you can offer Brogdon, Marcus Smart, maybe Grant Williams and picks, then cool. Like
and my reasoning is, what's everybody looking for in the NBA? Two-way wing players,
right?
And the Celtics have two of the better two-way wing players in the league that have been growing their game together, and they're only like you said, 25, 26
Right.
years old.
If it was,
why would you split them up instead of building around that core?
Right.
I hear that, but and I'm a guy that doesn't want to go this route. Apologies for the noise, guys. I'm outside.
That's okay.
But I'm one of those guys. When do we say Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown just don't play well together? Not saying that they can't go out there and win games, but when it comes to winning time, these guys can't seem to get it done.
Right. I think they can. I think that's. I don't think that's a correct statement. It's the one time I really disagree with Rob Scott. Like a team that's gone to the Eastern Conference Finals multiple times, a team that's gone to the finals at least one time. You know what I mean? And we would hope multiple times in the future. I kind of look at them and Rob. This isn't to compare them to Curry or anything, but I remember when people were really questioning a young Klay Thompson and Steph Curry, if those two could ever win together. And once they started really hitting their primes at the same time, that's when you started to see the Splash Bros. Like when they first came into the league, it wasn't really like that. When Draymond Green finally came into the fold and was playing some of the best defensive basketball there was, you really started to see this team gel well together. And I think you're starting to see Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum have been making some noise since they first really came on the scene. Even back in 2018 when they had Kyrie Irving, they were in the Eastern Conference Finals. Like they were doing this stuff since they were 20 years old, and I think they're not even in their prime yet. So I would be really
I get that, but and I'm not saying that they don't play well together. But what I'm saying is to keep both of those players, you're sacrificing not having a playmaker. And that's what they need right now. They need somebody to get them in their sets. Because as great as Jason Tatum is, he's not the greatest point forward in the world.
Right. But is Damian Lillard a great point guard, or is he a great scorer?
He's a great scorer. And if you look at what happened in that Miami series, that's what they needed. They needed somebody to go out there and get buckets, especially if Tatum and Brown is going to be inconsistent in that play.
But here's where I give drawback, right? So, like, I hear what you're saying, but I also heard two different things. I heard you say that they need a facilitator. They need somebody who's going to make plays. But then I hear that they need a scorer. So if you take away, let's say you take away Jaylen Brown, who's a great facilitator. He's a great playmaker. He makes plays happen.
No, ain't no if, because if they break them up, that's who's leaving.
I would agree with you. I would agree with you just because I feel like a power forward and a point guard are more important than a backcourt, especially when you already have Malcolm Brogdon in that backcourt as well. So, and Derek White. I like Derek White a lot. But I look at that and you kind of have those conversations with yourself like, okay, so Dame's going to give me 30, right? Tatum already gives me 30. So you're going to have offensively a great sound team with Jason Tatum and Damian Lillard. But I think at the end of the day, when you look at the longevity of, hey, what could we potentially be if JT and JB stay together? Like, I would agree with you if this was Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan, where DeMar DeRozan is 33 years old and you're having that conversation of, I want this to be a young team together and finally win. So if you were to trade, man, I don't even know who would go between DeMar or Zach, but one of them goes, right? I would imagine it's DeMar. And you have Zach LaVine and Damian Lillard. You have to do that because you know that DeMar's on his way out. But with JB and JT, these guys are going to be in the league for the next 10 plus years. I don't want to break that up for just a couple years of Damian Lillard when he played 21 games in 2021 and 50 games in 2022 because of injury. Like Jaylen Brown played with a broken hand in the finals. Like, what are we talking about?
Oh, Jaylen Brown, one of them old school players. He don't miss games.
That's what I'm saying, though, is are you willing to trade Jaylen Brown, who's going to play 82 out of 82 games, for Damian Lillard, who might not be healthy come June?
And another thing, Brown's a whole lot better on defense than what Lillard is as well. So you're getting rid of some of your defense by trading away Brown.
100%. You already lost Marcus Smart. You're bringing in Porzingis, who isn't healthy. You're bringing in a lot of guys who I think have name value, but what are they doing for this team's chemistry? And I think, Rob, what do we already have in this Celtics team right now? A conference championship caliber team.
Yeah.
So you bring Dame into the fold. I'm going to be really disrespectful right now. What has Damian Lillard done in the finals that Jaylen Brown hasn't? Because I saw Jaylen Brown averaging 25 points in the finals. I haven't ever seen Damian Lillard in the finals. I'm not saying he's whiff. I'm not saying he would be awful with the stage as the brightest. But what I am saying is they have that chemistry together. They have that playoff experience together. And Damian Lillard lacks a lot of that just because he's been in Portland for the entire time. And what did Damian Lillard do in Portland the entire time, Gonzo? He wasn't playing great team ball. He was just shooting the lights out and honestly just being an MVP. But is he going to be able to do that with Boston? I don't think he'd be able to.
But I don't think you're thinking about the other aspects of what he can show Tatum. He can show Tatum how to be a killer.
I think Tatum already has that in him, to be honest.
Oh, I think he has it in him, but Dame will make it stay on a more consistent basis. I just think, to me, honestly, I get the whole, hey, we're thinking about the long-term thing, but sometimes as a GM, you got to ask yourself, if I make this move, can I win now? And I think with the landscape of the NBA, we're talking about a Jason Tatum who's on his way to reaching the peak of his career. We're talking about bringing in a Dame Dollar who has something to prove and a little bit of a chip on his shoulder. And then I'm pretty sure Porzingis also feels the same way. I'm just saying I would not exclude that option of trying to get Damian Lillard to my team.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with you. Like I definitely agree with you, but I just look at it from a what's the next 4 to 5 years going to look like kind of thing. And I think what I've seen from the Boston Celtics the last 4 to 5 years is elite basketball between JB and obviously Jaylen Brown or JB and JT. Man, I'm all over the place. But when I look at those guys, and I look at Damian Lillard between the last 5 years, I've seen a drop-off. I've seen a version of Dame that looks human. I haven't seen Dame time. I've seen a guy who looks a lot more injury-prone, a lot older. He's starting to get caught up. I'm not saying Dame's a scrub. If Dame goes to the Lakers, I think the Lakers will be title contenders. If Dame goes to Miami, I think he'll be a title contender. Wherever Dame goes, as long as it's not Utah or the Spurs, I think they'll be title contenders. But I think at the end of the day, you have to look at it as a franchise and say, how long do I want to be a title contender?
You don't want to see Dame and Wembanyama?
No, I do not at all. I think Dame will smack the shit out of Victor.
I think with the Celtics, I think they need more of a facilitator because a lot of their problem, especially in the playoffs this year, was in the fourth quarter. There'd be times like Tatum wouldn't even touch the ball.
Right.
They need a facilitator that knows who to get the ball to and when to get the ball to him. I think that was more.
So maybe if I'll go ahead, Chris. My bad.
No, go ahead, Rob. I was pretty much. I was just saying. I think that's more of their problem is because if you watched in the playoffs, there was fourth quarters where Tatum would kind of disappear,
right?
And it was because he wouldn't even get to touch the ball,
right? So wait, to that point, Rob. Before you go, I want to ask you a question. Jaylen Brown has been one of the most consistent players on the Celtics throughout the last 5 years, right? Why are you trading Jaylen Brown instead of Jason Tatum?
Well, I just think I get that, and honestly,
because if we're talking about winning,
to me,
who averaged 13 points in the finals?
To me, though, when it comes to upside, like I think Jaylen Brown unfortunately falls into that Damian Lillard category. That when he starts to score and do things, it kind of affects his game.
Right.
But Jason Tatum, he affects the team, especially now that you add rebound to the mix. I mean, and this is a guy who was betting on Jason Tatum. I mean, at one point, machine, for a stretch, he was averaging at least 7 to 8 rebounds a game. And if you're going to give me that in 25 to 30 points a night, I can't go wrong with that. And then he started to open up his game more, showing that he can be a bit of a facilitator out there. So to Chris's point, maybe if I'm Boston, I'm going to the Warriors to see how badly do you want to hold on to Chris Paul?
Yeah, most definitely. I'm looking at the roster right now. Rob, let's say in your eyes, right? Let's say they trade away a guy like Jaylen Brown for a guy like Damian Lillard. The starting 5 as constructed right now is Derek White at the 1, Jaylen Brown at the 2, Jason Tatum at the 3, Kristaps Porzingis at the 4, and Al Horford at the 5, which, by the way, in my personal opinion, you want to talk about a guy who's holding this team back is Al Horford and his fucking 5 points a game. But yeah, I digress. But my point in that is if you trade away Jaylen Brown, the starting 5 would probably look something like Damian Lillard, Malcolm Brogdon, Jason Tatum, Kristaps Porzingis, Al Horford. I like that. I don't think it's bad. And I put
I'll put
Brogdon.
I'll put Williams. I'll start Williams and let Horford come on my bench.
Yeah, but I think the problem with that is financially they're not going to do that just because Horford makes way too much money.
And
I
Williams,
get
you
it.
have to worry about Williams being healthy.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
Williams is also hurt
It
right
seems
now.
like
And
he's
so is
hurt quite a
Brogdon,
bit.
but then so is Dame, and so is
But you
Porzingis.
can definitely.
But I mean, like,
Oh my God, that's a Bentley. I'm sorry, y'all, but I just saw an all white Bentley driving.
when me and Rob were hanging out for the week of doing the big three, I love walking down the street with Rob because Rob sees every car that drives down the street and he peeps everything, bro. Like, I love it. He'll point out every single Mercedes. He'll point out every single Bentley. He'll pull up a Charger, a Mustang, whatever it is. Rob knows exactly what year and what model it is, and it makes me. And honestly, he teaches me things.
Hey, I'm gonna get up to Chicago soon, and so us three can get together and hang out.
Most
I know.
definitely.
I wish I would have talked to you, Chris. I was in Maryville, Indiana this weekend for a family reunion.
Who the fuck you got in Indiana?
This is actually my wife's side of the family.
Okay. Mrs. I was gonna say her whole government name, Mrs. Scott. I love her government. I'll be saying it sometimes. I'll be like, "Rob Scott, Mrs. Joy."
What you guys make of Wembanyama's couple summer league games? I guess now they're shutting them down for the rest of summer league.
Yeah, we saw that coming though. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
You know what, man? I'm gonna say, I hate to say it, man, but he was who I thought he was gonna be. He's exactly who I thought he was gonna be. That stuff he was kind of doing in the summer league, he gonna get away with it some games. He gonna look like the second coming of KD some games. But for the most part, he is there to rim protect, and he is there to just be a deterrent on driving in the paint. But he's gonna have to pick up some muscle because I saw them dudes just throwing that man around. He's gonna have to get some weight on him. But other than that, I think he could be a real solid player. Possibly a future All Star if he can get that weight and maintain that same jumper. I don't recommend him trying too many dribbling moves because he's too tall and the ball is too high, and people are gonna rip that every time.
I think, you know what, and this is my what I noticed. Like, this was my problem. Pop said I will be in Chicago this weekend. Pops,
Come
we
on,
going
Pops,
to the liquor store.
Come on, Pops, I roll one up for you.
Oh man.
Oh wow.
Oh man. Ah damn. But no, this is my thing with Victor. It had nothing to do with his size. It had nothing to do with his strength or his legs or his health. I just saw fundamentally bad basketball. It looked like a baby fawn running.
It
And
did. It did.
like, he didn't
Like,
have
do you
a-
remember? You remember on the fast break when he was trying to? It was like his body was moving faster than the ball, and he just lost his balance.
It
I'm
looked
like,
like I was watching
you
a
too
kid
damn
play
long.
basketball for the first time. Like, it didn't look good at all. He was getting bodied by guards. Like, that's something that I think right now. I wouldn't go as far as to say Greg Oden because Greg Oden was a great basketball player. Greg Oden just couldn't stay. Yeah, he just couldn't stay on the court. Like Victor, and I've seen Victor hoop, man. I've seen this kid hoop overseas, and he is a bucket and a half. Like, this kid is a stud. Obviously, he went 2 for 13 in his first game. He had 27 points in his second. I've heard the plus minus from the I didn't get a chance to watch the second game, but I heard the plus minus wasn't good. I heard defensively he was a huge liability, and he just wasn't doing a lot of things well. He was turning over the ball at a high rate. But
he looks like Rudy Gobert. He looks like Rudy Gobert. He's just somebody that's tall and long. He's gonna get you a couple blocks by default because he's 7'4". But we saw the kid. You got a kid in summer league already posterizing you. What you think gonna happen if that's Ja coming down the ring, down the lane? What you think gonna happen if that's Jason Tatum coming down the lane? You're gonna get poked on, bro. Pause.
Yeah, he looked better in the second game, but he needs to gain some strength, a little bit of mass.
I didn't think it was that either, though, Gonzo. Like, back to my point, like, I just think he fundamentally looked like it was the first time. I'm not even trying to make a joke. Like, you didn't look like you knew how to play basketball. You looked like you didn't even know how to dribble the rock. And I think a big part of that comes with him, his first game here, his first game in America, his first game really doing this here at this level. And I think that's something that it's going to come in time. I think he had the jitters. He even said openly, like, I don't know what I was doing out there. And I think that's something that he needs to own. And if he takes that personally, if he takes the critique, I did a video on TikTok that has over 70,000 views of me laughing at him when he got slapped in the throat. But he didn't get slapped in the throat, but that's a whole different thing. But when he got his ankles broken twice on one play and then acted like he got fouled, which he kind of got fouled, but he definitely played it. But my point in that is if that's just my video, there are videos all over the place. Stephen A. Smith, ESPN, The Score, everywhere talking about, can this kid play? If he takes it personally the way I think he can, with guys like Tim Duncan, with guys like Greg Popovich helping him and guiding him along the way, I think this could be a problem. I think this is your supervillain era now. Like, this is you trying to prove to everyone you are who you say you are. You are who we've lived you out to be. And one of the biggest things, and I've heard this so many times, you've watched the movie Air, they talk about it. And I think it's so important. Matt Damon had an amazing scene in that movie where he talks to Michael Jordan about, we build you up to be something you'll never live up to be. And then we love to knock you down when you can't live up to being that, or you can't sustain that. Not we as in us on this panel, but we as basketball fans painted this guy out to be the next top prospect, the greatest basketball prospect since LeBron James, since Michael Jordan, since Kobe Bryant, since all these guys. But we failed to just look at what the kid's game really is. Like, I think we tried to feed this down everybody's throat. The NBA tried to feed it down our throat that this kid was the next LeBron James. And I never really felt like that was the case. I think he's solid. I think he's going to be a great player if he can turn into who I think he can.
I think it's going to take a year or two.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be like
I said
LeBron.
that before the draft.
Yeah, so
Mike, I have to say like me and Gonzo saying, and I know you thinking he does it, but it's not like this guy got like KG strength. Like KG always kept the slimmer frame,
right.
But KG wasn't getting bullied. Like if you watch those summer league games closely,
he's getting bullied.
He's getting bullied. Like they are moving him out of the way, and he's making up for it with his length.
Right.
I think he just needs to put maybe like 20 pounds of muscle on. 15, 20 pounds of muscle. I don't think he needs to get like real big, but if he could just put
I'm not saying he needs to become Dwight Howard, but
I think it would help him. I think the biggest thing is, like Mike is saying, though, is the adjustment from playing overseas to playing here in America, playing American style basketball. That's why I kind of thought it was going to take him at least a season before we saw him start getting to maybe that superstar level.
Shit, Gonzo, that didn't even look like overseas basketball, dude. That just looked like I don't know what that was.
Well, we'll say this to Gonzo's point. If you look at him, if you go back and look at any highlight of Wembanyama in France, he was kind of dominant,
right?
You know, in his stature. And I think the thing is, playing here in America, we don't give a shit how tall you are. Oh, we just looking at you like, the bigger they are, the better the poster's gonna look. You know what I mean?
It's almost going from playing with boys there in France to playing with men.
Right? Yeah, and to be honest, that's what makes it so scary. This is just the summer league. You ain't even playing with men yet.
And that was me and Rob, or me and Pride talked about that the other day. Is at the end of the day, you need to look at it as, listen, right now you're playing against JV. JV's JV. Because some of these guys won't even make the roster. Most of these guys won't even make the roster.
A lot of these guys will go right back overseas.
Right. When you go up against JT, when you go up against LeBron James, when you go up against Jokic, Embiid, Luka. I mean, when you go up against guys.
Can you imagine him trying to stop Giannis?
Right. So I didn't even, how did I even forget about Giannis? Giannis will break that boy's back. And Giannis just cut the fro. Now he's got a straight up fade. He's got a little taper fade action going on. I mean,
what's Joker going to do to him?
Man, Jokic.
Hey, it's not even going to be fair, Chris. It's not even going to be fair, Gonzo. Like we've seen top centers go up against Jokic and not look like a top center. You know what I mean? And that's my thing with him, because you can't come in here and be a big ass four. We're looking at you to be our center. And unfortunately, in today's league, a lot of centers, there's a lot of stretch fives out there, but we still have some centers that can go down there and play bully ball. and it happens to be the Finals MVP that loves to play bully ball. And hell, you look at a guy like Luca. Look what Luca did to DeAndre Ayton when I was one of the only people that said Dallas was going to beat Phoenix in that Western Conference semi. It
I was
just
with you, baby.
yeah, you know what I'm saying. But you see what these guys can do and how they can play down there in the interior, and then you start to get worried for a guy like Wembyama, who, like as Mike said, during the summer league, guards were moving this dude out the way.
But I will say this to play devil's advocate. We talk about Embiid, we talk about Jokic, we talk about Giannis and JT and what everybody else can do to him. If this kid can figure it out, if let's say to Gonzo's point, let's say he puts on 15 pounds by the start of the 2024 season, 2025 season. Let's say fundamentally he just comes all together like he used to. The kid shoots the light out the ball. The kid can dunk. The kid can facilitate. I saw him make a couple great playmaking plays. I saw him make some plays. I love to see him doing that. It didn't look pretty, but I saw him attempting it. He wasn't just out there. Like, my fear for this kid was, okay, shit's not going right. I'm just going to start dunking, because that's when injuries start happening, when you start changing your game. He stayed pat.
Yeah, he didn't seem to get frustrated. He
played his game. And I think if Gonzo, to your point, add the weight, he figures it out. So we talk about Embiid and all these other guys. What's going to happen when the 7'4" kid who shoots like Curry and makes plays like Chris Paul starts playing really well? Who's going to stop him? And I don't think there's an answer for that.
And I got to give him this. Because I critiqued him long enough, so I'm going to give him a little praise. He does have a knack for the ball. When it comes to rebounding, he's in the right spots, or he knows how to manipulate his length, even if he's boxed out, to still get it. I mean, we saw a play where he literally tipped the ball to himself for a dunk. Yep. And we don't see that from normal 7-footers. So he's pretty agile for a guy that with that length, pause, but
resume.
But at the same time, though, I still, when it comes to him, I'm always going to question, is he strong enough for this league, man? Because we look at guards like Derrick Rose in his prime, who would literally cuff the ball and just go in there and shoulder people out of his way. So, and that's what you have to think about. When you think about the NBA as compared to overseas, it's not saying that we're fundamentally that much ahead of them in the game, but as far as athleticism goes, these guys are crazy. And I don't care what color you are. I mean, hell, we saw Luka with the fake pass and dunk finish in the lane. I mean, these guys in the NBA are just different, man.
Oh, yeah. And that's why that's why before the draft, I said I thought it would take him at least a season just to get adjusted to the NBA, because it's totally different animal than what he's been playing against there in France.
Yep.
I agree.
Look at us agreeing. You know where else you can agree with us on? Rob's 2 cents, August 1st. Definitely check that out. Y'all know what to do. Follow Rob's 2 cents. I'm doing another shameless plug just so people remember. Coming in August 1st. He going to be hot. He been telling me he coming back for months. I need some Rob's 2 cents in my life, and I think y'all do too.
Hey, man, I appreciate it, guys. If you guys want to go check out my new intro, you can go to my personal page. You can go to my Rob's 2 cents page. Go to my Instagram page, man. We out here, man. We ready, man. After we had that interview with Cube, I just got motivated. It is time to come back, baby. Let's do it.
Cube. Rob, before you got on, Gonzo said that Cube is on the Pat McAfee show today.
Oh, I believe it. I mean, he's been making his rounds. I've seen a couple interviews on YouTube. Cube he's around.
He's doing his new tour coming out soon. That's just him rapping, and then he's got obviously the big three still going. I believe they're in week 3 or 4 right now. Things are exciting, man. Things are exciting.
We need to reach back out to him and do a postseason interview.
Oh, most definitely. What we gotta do is get ASAP in London, baby. That's what we gotta do.
Look, I'm trying to get paid because I'm tired of my 9 to 5. Okay.
Oh yeah, I know. I didn't get to hear the interview today with Cube on McAfee, but I know he came out, said he was making a tour and he was going to get after all the gatekeepers. So I'm gonna have to listen to it, see who he was going after and what all was said. Of course, I listened to the interview when he was with you guys, but I haven't seen none of the other ones yet. When he got on with McAfee, me and Mike was getting ready to start the show, so I muted it. So I'll go back and watch it later.
Well, I can say we appreciate you, Gonzo, for watching our interview. And if you guys want to check it out on the ASAP page. Check it out on Mike on the Mike's page. Check it out on Rob's 2 Cents YouTube page. We got the interview out and ready if you guys missed it. But I can tell you right now, one of the gatekeepers he is referring to is the National Basketball Association because
Yeah.
they want to control the rules and regulations and how they function. And I'm with you. It's like, hey, this is my league. I'm not interfering with nothing y'all do. I do this during y'all off season. If anybody should be mad, it should be the damn NFL because we're getting ready to start. They're getting ready to start up. So I get them on that, man. But you know how it is, man. You know, in Hollywood, the gatekeepers want to control the gates. They want to control the keys to the gate. They want to control who they letting in, man. And I'm with them. And you know, just like us here, us here at ASAP. We ain't waiting on you to open the gate. We gonna kick the gate in, baby.
Right. I think that's important too because what I've noticed, even working in the WNBA the last 3 years, I think such a huge part of what I've been seeing, Devin Booker, Chris Paul, Jason Tatum, guys like Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan, guys like that openly go to WNBA games and support these players. But even Ronnie 2K, you got Sabrina Ionescu on the cover of 2K right now with Kobe Bryant, Lady Mamba and Black Mamba coexisting. Like, it's a beautiful thing. Rob Scott's the first person to ever say that. So he needs to sue Ronnie 2K right now. But I think at the end of the day, I've never seen the NBA go hard for the WNBA. I've never seen them go hard for the G League. I've never seen them go hard for anything other than the NBA. Like, even with the WNBA, of course, they make their rounds. Of course, they say what they need to say to kind of just show that they care about women, but they don't. I truly don't believe they do. And I'll stand 10 toes on that. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of people sit up here and say that, man, fuck it. You know what? Let's do it. I think when you have networks who even cover the WNBA, they'll do a Chicago Bears show 5 days a week. They'll do a Chicago Cubs show 5 days a week. They'll do a Chicago Bulls show 5 days a week. But they'll do a Chicago Sky show 2 days out of the month. And that's no shade at any network in specifics. That has nothing to do with anything. That's just an example. Or maybe it's not. But I think at the end of the day, you need to acknowledge that this was our conversation with Cube. Why he brought in Lisa Leslie. Why he brought in Nancy Lieberman. Why he brought in all these other amazing women. His assistant, by the way, one of the most intelligent women I've ever had a conversation
Hold
with.
on, not his assistant. I got to get it right because she corrected me. His PR.
Her PR. I didn't know she was PR, but correct. His PR group. They're all educated women who have been in this game. And Cube made it even a point, and I asked him that question specifically on our interview because you have these conversations where a lot of people, a lot of networks, a lot of local networks, a lot of ESPN type places, they will air one WNBA game a week to check off a box to say, okay, we did this. Cube is bringing these women in because they're good at what they do, not because it checks off a box.
We need a Rooney Rule for women's basketball.
And this is the truth. You know where I watch most of Indiana Fever games at? On Facebook.
Yep.
They'll have it live on Facebook. That's how I watch most of Indiana Fever games because it's hard to find the WNBA on TV a lot of times. So that's how I watch most of the Fever games, and I'm here in Indiana.
Look, I'll say this before I have to get out because I see people looking outside like, "Where's Rob?" I will say this before I get up off of here. When it comes to women, man, they have to respect the game. That the guys have to respect the game. That these women are here to stay. I mean, we just saw the other night Brittany Griner, wows the crowd with her first dunk of the season. And you know what I mean? And we look at women not just in the athletic standpoint. Look at Jalen Hurts. He has a woman agent who just got him a very great payday. Look at Lamar Jackson's mom, who a lot of people were like, man, before Lamar Jackson's not going to get anything without getting the agent. He said, you know what? I'm going to have my OG represent me. And she came in and she got the deal done. And we just have to show more respect to our women counterparts, man. Shout out to the ladies. We love y'all. We know y'all can get the job done too. And ASAP is here to support all of y'all.
Yeah,
Love you guys. Hey, Gonzo, don't think I forgot about you. I love you too, brother.
Mhm.
And, and guys, man, I hope you guys continue to have a great show. I wish I could stay longer. I'm no longer on vacation, so I'm back in the work field. But you guys keep doing what you guys do, so we can get the numbers and the views, so we can get paid, and I can tell my job I quit.
Man, tell him, Rob. Can I come too? Can I tell him I quit even though I don't work there?
Hey, we can walk in together and just say, Rob and Mike is gone. And
Hey,
drop the mic.
Rob will do a big long speech, and then on his way out, I'm gonna go, I quit too. And they're gonna be like, who the fuck was that second dude? And I'm gonna be like, I don't even know. But I quit.
Hey,
like,
guys.
why you quitting?
I just don't want to be here, man.
Hey, have a great show, guys, and I'll be making sure I'm supporting on the back end.
All right, Robbie, I'll see you, baby.
All right, later, Rob. Oh man! So I guess Alvin Kamara pleaded no contest to a misdemeanor charge. So he's just getting 30 hours of community service, and he has to pay $100,000 in medical bills. You think he'll get suspended by the NFL for
Yeah.
conduct policy?
I would say so. I think
How long,
I think it's safe
how
to
long do you
say
think he
so.
gets?
I'm sorry, I'm so ignorant. What did he do? He's done so much stupid shit.
Oh
I don't
yeah,
know
he's
what
done
he
so
did
many
this time.
things. I can't even remember exactly what it was. To be honest, it
I
was
don't
back in
remember if
2022.
this.
It was at a nightclub.
I know there was an incident with a woman, where he put his hands on a woman. I know there was another incident where he got into a fight with a man at a bar. So I don't know which one this is. If it's where he hit a woman, I think that could be a really big suspension. If he just got into a fight at a bar with a guy, I could see 6 to 8 games. Maybe, you know what? Gonzo, it's fucked up. And part of my language, but it's fucked up because Deshaun Watson does everything he did and only gets what, 8 games? Like, so now I don't really know what the bar is.
But a guy gets caught gambling and gets a season.
Right. Like it's there's levels to this, bro. But I think the problem, and it's not a problem, like good for you as Alvin Kamara to understand, listen, I fucked up. I'm gonna plead guilty. Like you should. If you know you did it, plead guilty. You know what I mean? Like it's the responsible thing to do. It's the adult thing to do to take responsibility for your actions. But unfortunately, when you plead guilty in a case like this, you're going to get suspended because you're openly saying, I did this. Whereas with Deshaun Watson, it was, even if you say I did this, I didn't do this. Even if, we did the settlement and all that, I'm never saying I did it. He just got suspended for obviously having that investigation even happen. So it's hard when you openly admit to doing things. I think it could definitely lead to a suspension. And because it's not the first time or the second time that this has happened, I think it's a rightfully deserved suspension. I think it's time for you to seriously look back and have that conversation with yourself to why are the Saints always right outside of the playoff picture? It's because you missed the first 8 games and then they go on a great tear in the second half, but it's not enough because they lost 6 of the first 8 games of the season. And it's because you're not there.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it'll probably be around. I would say somewhere around 6 games. Yeah. Now, if it is something with a woman, then like you said, it's probably going to go up even more. I mean,
it's going to be a problem. Yeah, for sure. But I mean, if it's just a guy, drunk, it happens, bro. I'm not saying it's okay, but listen. Crazy things happen every single day to a lot of young guys. I myself find myself in situations sometimes where I'm like, yo, I got to walk away from this because this will be on the news if I don't. You know what I mean? Like, because I know myself. Guys like that, you just got to stay at home, man. You got to stay at home.
That's what I was getting ready to say. I got to a point where I don't even hardly go out like that anymore, just because you can go out and just trying to have a good time, not looking for any trouble at all, but it just takes one person that is looking for that trouble, and they can pick you that they're going to try to mess with, and then you can only take so much. So yeah, to me it's other than that nightlife like that, I just stay home or go hang out at a buddy's house or something instead of going to some of the clubs like that, just because even if you're there just trying to have a good time, there's always somebody in there that is looking for trouble usually.
Yeah, most definitely.
And you can get yourself in a situation, and then hell, it can change your whole life.
Right, man. That's something that you can't afford, especially when you gotten that far. Like if you're just, and I say this all the time, it doesn't make it better, but if you're nothing, if you don't do anything with your life, then you know why guys like that do stuff like that, because they got nothing going for them. You've made it to the NFL. You've gotten paid. You're solidified in this game.
Yeah, you have everything to lose. They have nothing to lose.
You have everything to lose, and you're going to give it up over a fight at a bar that I promise you won't remember 10 years from now if you would have just let it go and go home.
Leave, have your security guard go beat the hell out of him or something.
do what Aaron Donald did. Aaron Donald's security beat the shit out of that man.
But you don't do it.
Right. When you retire, hey, you could be like Marshawn Lynch. Do what you want to do.
Be like that guy on what movie was that? Billy Madison.
Yup.
Where he had a list of all the people that ever done him wrong, and then later in life he's gonna go back and get them.
Yep. Then, or you could do it the other way. You could be like, "My name is Earl," and you could have a list of all the people you've done wrong and make it right. But that was a good show. My name is Earl.
Well, Mike, you got anything else you want to touch on before we get out of here?
Yeah, we got a new show coming to ASAP, man. I'm really excited about it. We got ASAP WNBA rocking out. I'll be doing post-game, pre-game interviews with individuals like Sabrina Ionescu, Brianna Stewart, Courtney Vandersloot, Candace Parker, Kalia Copper, Liberty, Aces, Chicago Sky. We're going to be having individuals like Gonzo on who are going to be covering the Indiana Fever with Pops, and it's going to be really exciting to have his conversations. We're going to be having Frankie the Yankee on talking about, or Frankie the Liberty now. Frankie the Liberty. Now we got to come correct Frankie the Liberty and really just break down, what's going on with that and just the WNBA season as a whole. I'm going to be trying to have as many guests as possible. Currently looking for a co-host for that. Female, male, black, white, circle, triangle, don't matter. If you're open for it and you're down and you love WNBA basketball, you're more than welcome to come. Definitely going to be checking that out. That's going to be dropping within the next couple of weeks. We'll be doing post-game interviews with the New York Liberty Wednesday, which I believe is tomorrow. So definitely be on the lookout for that at the All Sports, All Plays Network. Hopefully we'll have some dope interviews for you guys. Still covering Chicago Sky basketball on Skyline. Mike on the mic, as always. Gonzo, man, it was just us today, man. Us and Rob Scott, we rocked out. We did our thing. It was a nice little time.
Oh, yeah, it was a good time. And then, like Mike said, we'll be having more Indiana Fever stuff as well coming up. Be getting into that and doing post-game interviews and stuff. Hopefully going to some games. And then also, don't forget, another quick plug for tonight. Check out the Pro Wrestling Tonight at Gonzo Sports Room, the All Sports, All Plays YouTube pages. It was a great show last night. You won't be disappointed. And then also here about 3 o'clock, I'll be on with Easy Money, a sports betting show.
Gonzo, really quick. Tell the people what you'll be talking about today, because it is a rare day where there are 0 games on today. So what is the Easy Money Sports Betting Show going to be about today?
We're going to look ahead to this weekend to some of the UFC fights going on. We'll probably look ahead to some of the baseball games when baseball starts back up, I believe Friday. So we'll probably look ahead to some of the Friday games and maybe recap some of the stuff that happened last week.
Hell yeah. And you know what? Not a lot of money involved into it, but there could be All-Star game. There's always a conversation of who's going to be the All-Star MVP. I feel like that's always so random.
And we'll definitely talk a little All-Star games tonight as well. We didn't have a show yesterday because we was traveling, or we'd have talked about Home Run Derby last night.
Who'd you have though? Who'd you have, if you don't mind me asking?
Oh, for the Home Run Derby?
Yeah.
I would have went with Rodriguez because it was in Seattle.
Man. That's how I felt too. I know Ken Griffey looked so disappointed sitting next to him, but he was just happy to be there, I think. And I had Vladdy.
You usually see the guys when it's in their home.
You said what, Gonzo?
Didn't you say some people talked you out of it?
Yeah, man. I had Vladdy, and I was like, before the game started, like 3 hours before the game, I watched everybody's home runs throughout the year to kind of see what kind of home runs they were, when in games they were, like how far they were, just really watching everybody and evaluating everybody's season. Luis Robert obviously is one of the first seeds, and I'm watching him, and I'm like, you know what? He's got the body frame for it. I don't think he'd be too tired. Like, that's why Julio won last year. He beat out guys like Vladdy. He beat out guys, obviously, like Pete Alonso, because he has a better body frame. He can withstand that. Yep. And that's why Julio lost last night. I felt like it's because he had 41 home runs in the first round. Like you went way too early, bro. And that's what I think. But when you're going against Pete Alonso, Pete Alonso, the polar bear, you got to do what you got to do. But Pete sucked. Pete was awful. And you know what? I think Pete's I know we're leaving, but Pete's problem, I see this every home run derby. Every time before he's going to bat, I see him in the weight room lifting a shit ton of weight. And I'm like, dude, you're probably exhausted. Meanwhile, everybody else is just either in the cage or watching the game. And it's like,
your arms feel like jello when you're walking out there.
Right. Like maybe just chill out and have a good time and it'll come naturally. But I had Vladdy.
Mike, real quick.
Yeah.
Because about the home run derby. Do you think some of these guys make mistakes by bringing back like a high school coach or like their dad pitched to them? Which, don't get me wrong, it's a great moment, but they're not pitchers that are used to throwing batting practice and being able to throw that ball to the correct spot all the time.
Yeah,
I think that can affect some of these guys during the home run derby.
I think that's the issue. I think a lot of guys have their brothers do it, or a lot of guys have their cousins or their moms or their dads or whoever, an old high school hitting coach, like whatever it is. Like, I think it definitely affects them in a negative way sometimes. Like yesterday, I saw there were a lot of bad pitches for Luis Robert, and I obviously bet on Luis Robert late because I didn't think Vladdy could do it. Not because I didn't think he could do it, just I didn't think he'd be able to sustain that. And he almost didn't, but he did. But it's one of those things where I personally would pick a teammate of mine. I would pick a pitcher on my roster. Like if I was on the Cubs, I'd pick Justin Steele or I'd pick Marcus Stroman, whichever way I'm batting. I'm a switch hitter, so it doesn't matter. But it's definitely something that I think looking at moving forward is going to start changing a lot.
Or bring the guy that throws you BP from your team that's used to throwing to you and knows where you like the ball.
Most definitely. There was one cool instance. I forgot who did it. I think it was Adley, but I don't remember. Somebody started switch hitting. It was hilarious. And they went like 6 for 6. It was Adley. Rutschman completed in his initial 3-minute period. He as the only left-handed hitter in the Derby, and he hit 20 home runs. And I believe he hit 6. He hit 7 of his 8 swings in the extra 30 seconds. He was batting lefty, and he hit 7 over 8. I believe he hit like 6 in a row. Like the kid is a psycho. The kid will definitely win a Derby in the future, in my opinion, if he does it again. It was really dope seeing Adley go out there.
Yeah, I saw a highlight. Like I said, I didn't see much of it because I was traveling, but I saw a highlight of that, and I was like, that's pretty damn awesome. That's something you don't see.
Yeah, it was really cool, and it was balls.
You know somebody else I think you might see do that here in maybe the next year or two. De La Cruz.
You think so? Can he switch? He switches.
Oh yeah, he switches and he has power from both sides.
What a crackhead! That guy's insane. That guy's made in a lab. I don't think he's a real person.
Yeah, he switches all the time just during the games, depending on who's pitching left to right, and he really don't. He's out just as good on either side of the plate. So I could see him doing something like that in the home run derby.
You know what I didn't know was a rule that I learned in high school when I was playing. I'm a switch hitter, so like I took my first pitch. It was a ball, and I was like, all right, well, we'll see how this goes. And then the second pitch was a strike. The third pitch was a strike. And then I walked across the plate because I wanted to switch sides. And the umpire was like, what are you doing? And I was like, I'm switching sides. He was like, you can't do that in the middle of your at-bat. And I was like, why not? And he was like, it's against the rules. I was like, show me in the rules where it says I can't do that. And he couldn't. Like, I don't know if it's a rule, but I've been told it's not a rule. In the middle of an at-bat, you can't switch what side you're batting.
See,
I think it's weird.
Here in Indiana, the rule was always you couldn't switch after you had 2 strikes. You could switch anytime you wanted to until you had 2 strikes on you.
See, I like that rule. But like you just telling me I can't switch just because I want to switch. Like, what if I change my mind? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
Yeah,
that's just me personally.
Yeah, I agree with you can't switch after 2 strikes, but yeah, I don't see why you can't switch any other time of the bat. I mean, hey, if you get in there and you're like, man, I'm not seeing the ball real well from this pitcher on this side, let me go on the other side and see if I'm seeing it better.
I got a warning after that because I told him he was a switch hitting discriminator. He was like, well, get this guy out of here, man. And my coach was like, yo, just chill out. I was like, nah, he's discriminating against me, man. I bet you don't like lefties. He neither.
Oh, shit. All right. But we'll get out of here. We'll be back tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern for another episode, ASAP Afternoon Blitz. We appreciate everybody watching, everybody commenting, sharing, all that. check out the ASAP Sports Network. Hit that like, subscribe, follow button. YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, all social media. Check out Mike at the Shy Kid. I know he's on all social media. It's all at the Shy Kid, isn't it, Mike?
Yes, sir.
So go check him out. TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, all that good stuff. You can find me on Gonzo Sports Room, all social media as well. And I'll be back here in just about 15 minutes or so with Easy Money, a sports betting show. Hope everybody enjoyed the show, and we'll see you guys tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern.
See ya.
All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. 365, we making a plays. We talking the game, get you to the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety, topics, living the same. All presentation, sports information. In the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, like working your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. All sports, all plays.